Hello,
Hi.
and welcome, our wonderful listeners, to episode 24.
Mm-mm-mm.
Happy December. I
Happy
can't believe
December.
we're in December. It's wild.
I can't believe this is technically 2 years worth of episodes
Yeah,
if we're on
that's
24.
wild.
That's crazy. Wow, our baby is a full toddler. 24 months. We should have a party. Oh my god.
Literally. Wow. Oh, all right. So let's get into it. In today's conversation, we will be talking about the very effective and well-known guilty pleasure of our time of doom scrolling. I've heard this called dead scrolling before.
Mm-hmm.
So, just for the purposes of this podcast, we're going to use doom scrolling.
Yeah. Just know it's interchangeable.
Yeah, and we're going to be talking about how this reinforces some unhealthy coping skills and how it's related to dissociating
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and how that's not the greatest during this time of year.
Really? And I just want to put a little caveat. I do think that, of course, this is a relatively newer thing in the last, I would say, decade, really, where we have more easier access to social media and things to scroll. But I also think COVID really ramped us up because we
Yes,
couldn't do anything but be on social media, essentially. That's when TikTok really blew up. Like,
literally.
so I just think it's become like something that we use to cope with a pandemic. And now it's really turned into like a very negative use of time. And this is something that I think we hear a lot of students coming in complaining about or being very judgy and critical on themselves for doom scrolling or dead scrolling.
Yes, and it's like very hard to stop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it
And we're going
is.
to get into that a little bit more, but also like you said, it's stemming from this really traumatic time
Mm-hmm.
that I would say we're still in recovery from.
Oh, 1,000%, right? Like our economy is still in like recovery mode from it. And I think it's going to be a bit that we're still seeing the impacts. But also, another thing too is that in our society today, you get immediate gratification of looking up things online and in social media. And that part too just kind of like sucks you in.
Yes. I heard someone say before we get into it that it reminds me of this topic, that it's still very new that a human being has access to
Mm-hmm.
billions and billions of other people's bad news and amounts of information. Like, our human brain is not used to that yet.
Literally. Like, it's so interesting. Like, if you think about that, right? Like, the main source of finding information out was the newspaper, right? Or magazines. But even that didn't cover, like, maybe like a 1/1000th percentage of all the stuff available to us now on the internet. And that is just crazy to think about in those terms, but also really enlightening of how there's like rabbit hole really works in pulling us in and losing the sense of time and being able to just avoid and dissociate in it.
Yeah. So, and this change is really big, and it's just what, maybe like not even a decade ago. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know when social media and everything blew up exactly, but it's definitely less than 20 years.
Yes, definitely. I feel like 2010s really saw the rampage of it.
All right, so let's clarify, just to clarify what doom scrolling is, right? It's the act of spending a lot of time consuming negative news or social media content, often for extended periods of time. So, I'm guilty of this.
Mhm.
Some clients I have are guilty of this, of like our screen time is just hours and hours.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, yeah, I can definitely relate to the extended periods of time.
Yes, she can. I get way too many notifications of her sending me posts.
Oh, yeah. It can involve reading large amounts of news or consuming short form videos or different social media content. It can also involve a compulsive need to consume a steady stream of distressing information. Like if we like read this one news story and then we need to like maybe fact check, or there's this other story that has similar facts to it or similarities to it, then we're like, "Oh man, this is happening in different places of the world or like
Mm-hmm.
with different communities that maybe I am connected to." So then we just go down this rabbit hole of like
Mm-hmm.
different things, and then that's how we end up with 4 plus hours of screen time.
Literally. Yes.
My poor eyeballs.
Yes. That too.
Yeah. So, like you mentioned, this term became popular during the COVID-19 pandemic when we were at home and literally had nothing to do, and we were just looking for information, not just about the pandemic, but like what other people were going through and what other people were
Mm.
experiencing, and like trying to relate somehow to this catastrophe
Yeah.
and like find a community and like still connect. But in doing that,
Mm-hmm.
it can lead to a cycle of negative feelings like fear, anger, hopelessness,
Yeah.
and that's really hard to shake.
Yeah, it is. I also feel like recent election, a lot of people are kind of feeling very similar of just like watching all kinds of videos about it, like reading news
Mhm.
articles, all the things, and it is eliciting that cycle of very negative feelings. And so, yeah, it's like, even if we notice this could really come up in like during COVID, like this is obviously something that gets triggered, or we kind of go into this around a lot of different things.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. So, what I read and what I learned is like some people doom scroll for a variety of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of leans into the dissociation aspect of this, is to maybe we want to feel informed, but maybe we also want to relax and escape from our own reality because it's not the best.
Right.
Or we want to numb out uncomfortable emotions from our own life. However, doom scrolling often leaves people feeling more stressed out and
Mm-hmm.
disillusioned, which,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, with the election, definitely can attest to that. Like, yes, like you want to get all the information you can, but then once you have all this information, where do you put it? What do you
Right.
do with
Yeah.
and the feelings that come with all that?
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah. So like another example would be reading a negative article, becoming scared, looking up more information on that topic, and then experiencing some physical sensations like an increased heart rate, or maybe you're ruminating about it now, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe you're having trouble focusing or breathing. And so you continue to watch more of it to maybe gain some answers or gain some like insight and try to move forward. But that's often not the case.
Yeah.
So, like we've mentioned a little bit already, some signs of doom scrolling are spending those long and frequent periods of time reading stories or watching videos
Mhm.
or maybe looking stuff up.
Right. Like feeling like I need to continue just taking in all this content and information about something.
Yes, like having that urge to check multiple news sites,
Mm-hmm.
but then also giving into that urge.
Right. Right. Yes.
Going down rabbit holes of different topics, fixating on negative articles or videos for hours, feeling on edge or sad most of the day after consuming that,
Mm-hmm.
neglecting other responsibilities due to repeatedly checking in on those topics.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh crap, forgot to eat dinner. Like, where did the time go?
Mm-hmm.
Or having a hard time sleeping after reading the news or watching those videos can definitely relate to that one because your brain is still wired not just from what you're like the content, but the feelings, and then also like your literal eyeballs may be strained, right?
I think too, like if you think of breaking it down, right, of even just like the signs you just talked about, like the big things is the extended amount of time, right, that we're spent doing this scrolling, right? Like the negative impact on myself afterwards, like for X, Y, and Z reasons. And also feeling like I am maybe hyperfixating or feeling like this intense compulsion or need to, again, constantly like be taking in this like information about something. That's the big parts of it, right? This is why it becomes such a negative thing, is because of the impact on our systems holistically.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's important to even think about that too. And as you're listening to this, kind of reflect and think about, if you do partake in doom scrolling or dead scrolling, like, do you notice any of these things, right? Like, do you like find yourself having any of these signs and almost like checking ourselves real quick? Because this could be a really good indication that we're spending a lot of time doing this and it's having a real negative impact. So, but I guess like let's kind of dive in a little bit to doom scrolling related to mental health impact, because I
Yeah.
think something that, at least in a lot of sessions that I've had over the last couple years, is not really connecting the dots that doom scrolling and dissociation are really correlated and linked up, right?
Yeah.
And I think with anything, there is a line and there is like a clear boundary on this. Like, this is not as saying like you can't get on social media or look up things, right? Again, it's about the extended time and it's about the impact on you. But what we do see is this, again, extended period having very much the same intentionality and impact of dissociating, right? And so thinking about that, right? Like if I am doom scrolling, then this is where I am just kind of mindlessly looking through news articles, looking through Google or search engines or social media in general, and I am just like almost melting in to my phone or my device, right? Like I'm not
Mm-hmm.
keeping track of time. I'm not having awareness of like what my body's doing or feeling, what else is going on in my environment. Maybe even like I'm disconnecting from responsibilities. And so this is the part, right, where it gets really sticky and dicey, because then we hear a lot of, that's when other problems come in or consequences, because I'm spending too much time doing this rather than what I need to be doing, which stresses me out more, which causes more anxiety. So
Yeah.
thinking about like, if I have this disconnection, right, from the present moment in my inner thoughts, then I am literally, again, not aware of anything that is happening outside of the information I'm taking in or the videos that I'm watching. And this is really similar to a non traumatic type of dissociation that really happens when we are zoning out while doing things like commuting to work or doing other tasks, right? Like where I am just not in my body, right? I'm on autopilot. I'm doing the things that like my system like is just doing, but I couldn't tell you what I saw on my way into work, what songs I listened to, even if I put on a song. Like, this is
Mm-hmm.
something that happens for a lot of us. And I will say too, I think that when that happens, that usually tells us, right, that something's going on, in the sense of like, I am literally just like zoning out. Maybe I'm feeling really stressed and I just like want to avoid it, or like don't want to think about going to work. Or maybe I'm just like, it's been like a lot of emotions and things that I don't want to tap into, or I don't want to think about all the million things that I'm going to have to do at work today. Like, that's
Oh,
us
yeah.
really trying to avoid and not tap into those things that are very real for us.
That's so true. It reminds me of like when I process process with clients the different coping skills they maybe start off in therapy with, and
Mm-hmm.
dissociation's always, or most of the time, a number one coping skill, and then we automatically think like, "Oh, this is bad, like this is a negative thing,"
Mm-hmm.
when maybe it's unhealthy and it's not useful anymore, but for a long period of time, it actually got us through some stuff. You
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
you said, like stress, things we don't want to think about, things maybe we're not ready to think about. I know
Mm-hmm.
when I'm doom scrolling, I'm literally not thinking about anything else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that provides some sense of relief. But then the things that I was avoiding thinking about are still there.
Right. Right. And now it might feel more compounded because now time has gone by. Now I might feel more stressed about X, Y, and Z, or the timing of needing to figure out things, right? And so again, it's like that, the limit, right? Like, am I exceeding the limit that reaches into that more unhealthy atmosphere, if that makes sense? So, thinking about the impact, right? We've talked about, there can be some real, like, severe negative mental health effects from doom scrolling, right? This, I think we've also seen this too come up since the pandemic, of our social skills can get real impacted and hindered, of even having anxiety about interacting with others. How do I go about that? Like, feeling motivated to even do that, because we're
Mhm.
so, again, like, dissociating and dead scrolling and all up in that, where we don't have to socialize, right? Unless you're like typing things, which again is like a whole different form of communication and less
Yeah.
pressure. It also reduces our attention span, right? So our focus and concentration gets real impacted, and we see that come up a lot. And I will say, not only does it get reduced by us dead scrolling and participating in that for extended periods, but it also reduces our attention span in the sense of, I almost like get to this codependency of like, I'll be doing something and then just immediately pick up my phone, right?
Yep.
Like, I'll be
Yeah.
working or doing things and then it's like, phone. Like, I want to look on social media or do like a quick
Same.
thing. And it's like, okay, but that's literally like, my attention, my focus cannot stay present on this thing that I'm working on and need to do without me feeling like I just need to grab my phone. That's, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that makes me think of what Christine was talking about at the event today, of challenging herself to not pick up her phone, right?
Yes.
Like, when
Literally,
she's like
yes.
waiting in the car or something, because it, like, she's not being present, and that's exactly it, right? But we've been so conditioned to, well, like, I have nothing to do, or even if I have something to do, like, let me just look and see, because like, we're trying to just get out of what we have to do.
Exactly.
Wow.
And then I know I hear this a lot, and I think it's one of the effects or consequences of doom scrolling is that the phrase "I'm bored"
Mm-hmm.
or "I have nothing to do" is like used as a reason to
Mm-hmm.
continue doing it. When sometimes it's okay to be bored.
Yes, we do not have to be constantly stimulated. Like, that is not a thing. Our
Exactly.
brains and our systems actually aren't meant for that. Like, we need downtime and rest time, and that does not mean taking in content on our phone.
Or
Or,
sleeping,
or,
you know? Like, it's okay to rest other than
yeah,
sleeping.
right. Yes. People, someone on there is going to listen to this and be like, excuse me? But, like, again, like, it causes issues. Maybe you're listening to this and maybe you can recognize where any of that's come up. We also see a big thing of increased feelings of loneliness. Why? Because we're not being present. We're not socializing with people. We're literally just in our phones or on our devices. Like, again, we're not having those social interactions or maybe feeling as confident. So we're feeling disconnected from the world and the people in our lives. And so, thinking about like some really top mental health problems that we can see doom scrolling kind of be a part of, or feel like it kind of can exasperate, like, just symptoms and feelings of, would of course be major depressive disorder, right? Generalized anxiety, even obsessive compulsive disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, and panic disorder, right? So we see this having a huge impact and showing up in honestly some of the main categories of mental health problems that we see in our world and society. And so think about that, right? Like this is just beyond like, oh, like I wasted time, right? This is having a long-term effect and exasperating potential symptoms of things that we already are struggling with and trying to cope with.
I'm so glad you mentioned that because I know, like, I've definitely felt this way and also have heard different client stories of feeling the similar way of that maybe those negative core beliefs that are associated with those mental health problems you just listed get reinforced through doom scrolling. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing enough. I'm wasting time. I'm
Yep.
selfish.
Yep. A
Or like,
thousand percent.
what's my purpose? And I just thought of that. Like that just popped in my brain right now. Like, whoa.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Imposter syndrome all the way, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
So let's transition a little bit more to how we can pause slash stop slash slow down the
Right.
doom scrolling and be present
Mm-hmm.
in the present moment. So first, of course, is how to notice. So paying attention to how you feel while you're scrolling. Maybe this is
Mm-hmm.
the first step. Like, okay, I didn't even notice myself just pick up my phone, but once I am there scrolling, okay, can I actually notice how my body feels right now? Or even other physical sensations like, do I have a stiff neck? Are my eyes stinging? Is my thumb cramping up? Or is my hand cramping up?
Right.
Right?
Yes. When's the last time I moved my body?
Yeah. You might also notice some emotional responses like that anxiety, that agitation, that stress, or sadness or dread. You taking notice to those physical and emotional symptoms is a first step. Even if we're not ready to take action, but just constantly noticing it and having a thought in your brain of like, I can't feel my toes right now. Maybe my foot's asleep. Let me wiggle them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or, wow, I just read that super fast and I feel a little dizzy and sick.
Right.
Or I'm
Right.
having some anxiety after reading that story.
Yeah. Like, how can I ground myself a little bit? Yeah.
Yeah. So after we stop and notice, now we can take some more action steps, like maybe set some boundaries with yourself, like
Mm-hmm.
setting a time limit for how long you scroll or limit how often you check your phone. Like with our lovely Christine Torres, like she gave us the idea of, okay, when I'm standing in line to buy something, I'm not going to be on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
That's a boundary.
Right.
Like she's going to put her phone away.
Right. She's gonna be present. She's gonna notice things going on around her.
Exactly. I was like, I love that. I love that idea.
Right. And I think it also brings up this idea of me having spare time or idle time does not correlate with phone time, right? Like, what did people
Exactly.
do when they had landlines or no phones at all? Like,
Exactly.
like they were present, they were doing other things. Like, that's a part of it, right? Like, we
Hmm.
have correlated that for the last couple decades at this point, and that's gonna have to be reverted a little bit.
Exactly. So something that goes along with that is being mindful. Consider, reflect, think about what you're consuming online and how you feel afterwards.
Mhm.
So that could even be from the moment you open up that app or from the moment that you get on that website or even just open up your laptop. Like pausing and being mindful, like, what am I consuming right now? Like, what is my brain actually going to be digesting right now?
Mhm.
And how do I feel? How do I feel while like reading it or watching it? How do I feel afterwards? Another thing is to seek out positivity. Maybe counter some of the time spent doom scrolling or researching or looking at things that are maybe not so positive with something that is positive or like heartwarming, because
Hmm.
there's good news out there too. There's not just bad news. So looking for positive content, something else to turn to for a positive experience. I know for me, like to watch little short videos, vlogs of different types of dogs. And it's called The Doggist if you ever want to search it up. But it's basically a photographer and he goes around and he asks people, can I take a photo of your dog? And then he asks them a little bit about the dog. Like, can you share what the dog is like? And that is positive news. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it has nothing negative or sad or scary attached to it. It's like, this is a cute looking animal. Like, warms my heart.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Another thing is to practice gratitude, trying to be thankful for what you have. Like, okay, I'm grateful that I have the ability to search things up, and I'm grateful that I have the ability to put the phone down for some time, or maybe even call a friend instead. Next thing is taking a break, right? Listening to what your body and your mental health and what your emotions need of like, okay, I know I need a break right now.
Mm-hmm.
Let me actually give myself that break. And logging off or putting the phone or the computer down. Filter your content. Only visit sites you trust and limit the content you see on social media.
Right. Like,
That could be going through
yeah.
people you follow and you're like, why am I still following them? Or maybe even noticing if you're going towards topics or news stories that this is the only thing that you've been researching for the last couple hours or the last day or so, and you're like, hold on, why do I keep noticing that I'm feeling anxious even when I'm not consuming this stuff? Maybe this is related to that, and taking a pause from that. Let's see. Next is engage intentionally. So slowing down and purposely engage with the content that you're consuming. So that doesn't necessarily mean to research more stuff. I mean, it can, but it can also mean like taking your time watching a video or maybe taking a break or a pause after you watch one video or read an article, because I know like we're consuming information so fast these days that our brain just gets stuck on that loop. And so definitely trying to implement slowing that down.
Mm-hmm.
Track your feelings, keeping track of your emotions and moods after spending time online. I recently came across this great mood tracker that a client shared with me, and I've been sharing it, and it's free on the App Store. It's called How We Feel, and it's very aesthetically pleasing. It's a rainbow heart on the little icon. And so if you're into tracking your mood or would like a recommendation, I definitely recommend that one.
Yeah.
But maybe even trying that out after you spend time online or social media just to see how are you feeling after all that.
Yeah, kind of give yourself a visual tracker of it.
And last but not least, consider therapy, right? If doom
Mm-hmm.
scrolling is affecting your well-being, you can consider a therapist like me and Erin here at
Yeah.
your local Houston Caps team.
Yes. 1,000%. Well, thank you, Ash, for going through that. I think also thinking about some activities, right, that can be really essential in making sure that we are nourishing ourselves, taking care of ourselves, and really just like making sure holistically that we have the things that we need. A big part, I think, of doom scrolling and dissociating too is that like probably we are run down in some degree and our little self-care cups are not full in some way or another. So I think intentionally be aware of that, right? Do I notice a trend of like doom scrolling more when Y and Z is not being taken care of, or I haven't done this in a while? But also like some like really helpful activities that you can do is of course engaging in mindfulness, like whether that's meditation, whether that's mindfulness and physical with yoga, going for a walk or runs, connecting with nature. If you are someone that likes to journal, right? Doing any type of journaling, whether it's just word purging out emotions or thoughts, or doing gratitude type prompts or journal reflections in general. Also, like, what are things that you used to do that were interesting outside of your phone, right? Like, we all didn't
Yeah.
have, like, phones every second of the day. So
Mhm.
what is it that you like to do outside of that? Whether it's reading for fun, whether it's being artistic, whether it's, again, being out in nature, or having, engaging in physical activity or socializing with your support people. Like, reconnect with the things outside of your phone that give you a sense of nourishment, because that's going to be really important just to keep in mind. And especially if you notice, like, oh, I've been doom scrolling lately, how do I check in with myself on where something might be missing? So
Mhm.
just kind of, again, kind of like the mood emotion tracker, right? How do I also utilize that to check in with other parts of myself and see what I might be needing and what might be like the red flag or big picture coming up behind my act of doom scrolling. But with that, we're gonna wrap up here. And we're gonna leave you with a couple quotes, it looks like.
Yeah. I put a
Ash, you wanna
different
share?
many up there because I was like, these all resonate, and I was like, I'm just gonna put them all and see.
You get a threefer on this episode.
Yeah. Okay. So the first one is by Anonymous. Who knows? But it is, your mind is a garden. What you plant there is up to you.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, whoa, OMG. Actual
Right.
fact. Mic drop on that one.
Well, it's like so interesting, right, to think about that and be like, man, am I purposely planting weeds and like participating in this dead scrolling and what I'm taking in? Like, then how do I be intentional to like pull them weeds out and plant something that's gonna be more aesthetically pleasing or just like gives me like purpose in some way? Like,
Yeah, some
how do
fresh
we,
air.
right? How do we take control of that in the sense? The next one you put is from Helen Keller,
Yeah.
right? And it's, the world is full of suffering, but is also full of the overcoming of it. And I really think that is so important, especially just given more recent events. There's a lot out there that just feels like doom and gloom, like world is ending, kind of mentality. And so being able to zoom out of all the really negative stuff that's going on and being talked about and really looking at just the history and all the things of being able to overcome and grow from really dark times and dark spots. I think that was a beautiful opportunity to kind of throw in some hope and resilience.
Yes, I love that quote. Love it. Okay, and last quote is, focus on what you can control and not what you can't. That one is so much easier said than done,
1,000%.
for sure. And also, it's possible if we put our brains to it and help
Mm-hmm.
each other.
Yeah. Yeah. And noticing, like, if part of my dead scrolling and dissociating is because I feel this need of control to have all this information, right? Like, then maybe there's a bigger problem here. Like, maybe we
Mhm.
should, like, think about just the anxiety mindset coming up right now. But, things to just check in on, see what resonates, see what doesn't. But with that, we want to thank you again for tuning in to our episode 24, celebrating 2 years of content.
Wild.
Our next month's episode will be smaller steps versus big picture. And this will actually be the last episode featuring Ash for a little bit because she's bringing a beautiful baby into this world. And so we are going to miss her
OMG.
so much. But we will have a special
You
guest.
all.
So you won't just have to listen to my voice. That would be crazy. But yeah, we're going to miss Ash. But I'm excited at least that we're getting a couple of these out before you go and be a mommy.
Same. I'm gonna miss you and our wonderful listeners and look forward to returning in February, March.
I look forward to you returning too. Oh my gosh. But with that, Thank you again for listening and tuning in to another episode. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season and a renewing New Year start. And we will see you in January. Bye.
Bye.